Alright, who knows what integrity means? What does integrity mean? I'm trying to look for someone with a smaller tricep. No, what's up, tell me.
How you answer?
No, come on. No, being whole. Being whole. So you read the email. You just know. That's right. Let's get that. That's good. Exactly. So integrity. So that's talking about I'm talking. So integrity is being whole. Is being whole. Being complete, unbroken, undivided, perfect. Right. What we're going to talk about today is a very foundational topic. Honestly, I'm not trying to be all dramatic and emotional here, but when I learned about this maybe 10 years ago, it literally changed my life to learn how to think about, how to go about life this way. So this is very straightforward, and it's very systematic, so you need to really pay attention. And we're going to go about this in an important sequence, okay? So, integrity means, like Mike said, whole, complete, unbroken, undivided. Think of a bicycle wheel. You guys know what a bicycle wheel looks like, right? If you think about, what are those, does anybody know what those things are called that are spokes, right? And think about, so the spokes are the things between that little center part of the bike and the tire, right? And if one of those spokes is messed up, what happens to the tire? What happens to the wheel? How does it work? Any ideas? Huh? It's unbalanced. You're right, but can you explain it?
I forgot what the functionality of the spokes were, but the front wheel will probably be moving a little faster than the back wheel, making it.
Yeah. No, it won't move faster because it's a bike that's moving at the same speed, right? So the wheels will both turn. But what's going to happen to that tire is that tire is going to lose its efficiency, right? Like it's supposed to be able to go like very quickly, but now if you remove one of the spokes, it's like kind of weak on one part of the tire. So the tire turns, and every time it turns over the part where the spoke is weak, it'll like bump, right? It'll like bump, right? Okay. So integrity, which is wholeness, applies not just to objects, but it applies to systems, and it applies to people. It applies to organizations, right? Being whole, being complete, that concept applies to people, to systems, to organizations. If, this is the first important point, if a system or a person or an organization is in integrity, it has, ready for this, maximum workability. Maximum workability. That means that if something is in full integrity, it can operate at its full potential. It can operate at its full potential. Why can't that tire operate at its full potential? Because it's out of integrity, right? It's not perfect. It's not whole. It's not complete. When something is not complete, it cannot operate at its full potential. That's an easy thing to accept, right? But we're just saying. Are there any questions about that point? If something is not complete, if something is not whole, it cannot operate at its full potential. That's an obvious point. Okay. Now, the next big point. Integrity for a person is a matter of their word. This is where it gets crazy. Integrity for a person is a matter of your word. Okay? So, how can I be in integrity? It has to do with my word. What is my word? My word is not my feelings, right? Like what I feel, that's not my word. My word is not my thoughts, because what I think is not necessarily what I say, right? Integrity is not the state of my body. Like imagine someone who had to have their leg amputated, right? God forbid. Is that person no longer whole? What do you guys think about that? I want to hear some thoughts. What do you think about that? If somebody had their leg amputated, what's the condition of that person? Are they in integrity, out of integrity? What's the deal?
They're whole with what they currently have.
Right. So they're as whole as they can be now, right? Their potential changed, but they're still at their maximum. They still can potentially access their maximum potential, right? So that's different from like you take this table, you take the leg off, right?
It's just that their maximum potential is different than what it used to be.
Right. And actually, sometimes people who don't have a leg achieve more than people with a leg, right? With both legs, right?
My
So,
friend.
your friend? You have a friend like that?
Nick Voyage.
Oh yeah, Nick, right? Nick, whatever, right? Like he's doing big stuff, right? Like we're here, he's doing he's around probably like 50,000 people right now. So, so he's achieving great things that have nothing to do with the condition of his body, right? Integrity is about what you say and what is said by what you do. What you say and what is said by what you do. So integrity, we said that any system that wants to reach its full potential has to be in integrity. Integrity for a person is in their word. Your word is not your feelings. Your word is not your thoughts. Your word is not the state of your body. Your word is what you say, and it's what is said by what you do. So like, let's say I am, loving, but I don't say I'm loving, but I treat everyone with love. What is said by what I do, right? Like, what if I slap someone in the face? What is said by my behaviors, right? That I'm an abuser, right? That I abuse people, right? That's what's said. Is that cool? So, but I actually want to make this word thing a bit deeper, okay? Let me just start again. Integrity is being whole, complete, unbroken, undivided. Any system that is in integrity, or any person that's in integrity, has access to maximum workability, meaning it can achieve its full potential. I'm not saying it does achieve its full potential. I'm saying it can achieve its full potential. Are you guys with me? Okay. Now, what is it for a human being, a person, to be in integrity? It's not your feelings, it's not your thoughts, it's not your body, it's your what? Word, right? Integrity for a person is their word. Now, what is your word? What is your word? Your word is 5 things. Okay, your word is 5 things. Okay, and we're about to get into this is the hardest part, by the way. Your word, this is the hardest part, and then it's just gonna get easier, okay? So, your word, of course, is what you say you will do or not do by when you say you're gonna do it. Okay, that's the first thing. So what is my word? My word is what I say I'm gonna do by the time I say I'm gonna do it. Okay, so if I say I'm gonna be here at 10, I've just given my word. I've just given it, right? So what I'm gonna do is be here by 10, right? That one's easy. That one's really easy, right? Your word is also what you know to do. It's what you know to do, right? Like imagine a child is born, right? Not to us sometimes, but a child is born, right? They have a baby, right? Do you have to tell your baby that I'm going to feed you? So if you have to say that, like I'm going to take care of you, I'm going to bathe you, I'm going to clothe you, I'm going to all that stuff, right? Do you have to say that to the baby? No, but you know to do that, right? What you know to do is a part of your word. It's your word, okay? Number 3, and this one is the hard one. This is the hardest one. We're at the top of difficulty here, right? Number 3 is what you are expected to do, but not what you expect others to do. I'll see you later, guys. Have a good day. So, your word is what you expect, what people expect you to do, but not what you expect of others. Let me say that, like in different ways. What if Okay, what if I expected that, I should have thought of an example for this one, but I probably did, I forgot it. But, let me say this, this one's kind of, yeah, okay, so, at work, sometimes I have like a view on how people should behave during meetings, right? Not in a very specific, particular way. But sometimes I'm like, hey, can you join this meeting with me? And I'm not really expecting that person to say anything, right? I'm not expecting that person to say anything. I just want them to join so that they can listen and learn and see what's going on. But sometimes people join and they just start and it's saying all this stuff and representing my team and all this stuff, right? And I'm like, whoa, what happened? What happened? But I never said anything to that person, right? I never said anything to that person. Is my expectation, should I think that that's their word? If I never said anything to them? If I never said, hey, can you please join this meeting but don't say anything? I'd say that, right? You could have said that. You'd say, hey, listen, I really want you to listen in. There's a lot of important stuff that I want you to learn about, but just please don't say anything during this meeting. Is that, if I didn't say that, right? Should I think that that's their word? No? But what if that person is joining that meeting and is expecting to have my permission to say stuff? That one's a little tough, right? That person's going to join the meeting, and they think I gave them permission to say stuff, right? So they're expecting me to have inside of my heart permission, for them to do that, right? I should consider that to be my word. Do you guys get what I'm saying?
Not a clue.
No. It's right here.
That's why we're not asking.
Yeah. I saw some nods. Some people are nodding in this section. Thank you. Not even if you don't understand. That's integrity. No, it's not. No, that's not integrity. That's out of integrity. So, all right.
You can in Arabic, you can understand.
Talk about shoot that. No, that's not. Let me give another example. What if when my wife comes home, she expects me to leave everything I'm doing and say, hey, I love you. What if she expects that? Right? What if she expects that? This is an easier example. So she comes home and this never happens, but I happen to be home before her. And so she comes home and she expects me, the moment she walks in, she expects me to say, hey, I love you. I'm so happy you're here, right? I am happy she's here. But, so if she expects that, right, I should consider that to be my word.
When it was placed on you, why?
Fine. But the only way for us to have maximum workability, and I'm going to tell you how to solve the problem. Right now, we're thinking, man, this is impossible to solve, right? The solution, by the way, is just communication, right? It's hey, what are your expectations, right? That's how to solve the problem.
Or just don't get married.
But no. It's good. So if she's expecting, imagine the problem. Imagine she comes home, she's expecting me to say I love you, I don't say it. What happens in our dynamic? She gets upset, right? She gets upset. So what I should do, I should be oh, hey, she got upset. She must have had an unmet expectation, right? I should consider, and I'm just defining this concept of your word, that in order for me to be in integrity, my word must be unbroken. My word is what people expect of me, but it's not what I expect of others, right? So, if she expects me to say I love you, I need to clarify that. I need to know that is my word, and if she expects that of me and I don't do it, something is not going to be working at its full potential, right? I'm just trying to explain the rules. This is just how it is, right? Like whether we like it or not, how to deal with it is a different question. But the rule is, if she is expecting me, it's my word. Because if I don't do it, something's going to break. We're going to be out of integrity, right? And there's an asymmetry, which is that if I expect something from her, I can't assume that that's her word. It just doesn't work that way. This is the hardest one, and so we can spend some time on it. Who hates this concept? Yeah, I'm feeling it. Yeah. Yes.
You're saying if you're the receiving party, like your wife in the example, then she shouldn't hold you to that standard.
She shouldn't hold me to that standard, but I should hold myself to that standard.
Okay. Given that you know that's the standard she expects.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. That's exactly right.
Vice versa.
No, so
So if you know that she likes when she comes in that you stand up and say I love you, you are held by this word.
Yes.
Because you know that.
yes. And if I want her to say I love you, but I didn't tell her, I shouldn't consider it to be her word. Right? So this is the only way that our word stays whole, by the way. It's the only way. There's no other way around it. Yes.
I'm still not getting it. Like, if he didn't say anything, so it's being expected from him, so how is that his word? Because he knows about it.
Well,
Because he knows that she likes that.
What if he doesn't know?
no, then so what I should do, like the solution to this, is that I should always try to understand the expectations of me. Because I consider all expectations of me are my word. And if I don't meet what's expected of me, something's going to break. I'm not saying that it's like fair. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that the only way to have access to your full potential is if you know and clarify what's expected of you, right? Like, what if you guys were expecting me to like speak about something else, you know? But I prepared, you know, and I did everything I thought I should do. But you expected me to speak of something else. It would be bad, right? Things wouldn't work out. Yes.
What is expected of you is something that's not necessarily the proper thing. Like, for example, I
Right.
expect my sister to pick up my dirty clothes.
Right. So the way that works.
That's your problem.
So first, there's two things, right? If you expect your sister to pick up your dirty clothes, if you expect that, you should not consider it, for your own integrity, you should not consider it to be her word, right? The only thing, what you should do is say it, right? And what she should do is say no, right? And we should anyway, right? But what she should do is say, wait, maybe Antonius has an expectation of me. Let me clarify that, right? But if she doesn't clarify it, what's going to happen to the relationship? It's just going to break, right? There's going to be an issue. It's going to be out of integrity. And guys, like, this is just how it is. Like, you know, I'm not trying to say, like, this is fun or this is, like, great, right? But this is how it is. Stephanie, did you have something? Were you expecting something else? All right. We'll come back to this one. Okay? Again, now it's just going to get easier. Okay? Now it's going to get easier. All right. So there's two more things that are your work. Okay? Now let me just go through this cycle one more time. Right? Intent. Yes. No, it's fine.
So, in that case, then, you should always be up to date, right? Through communication with your expectation, with what's expected of you.
Yes! You're right. That's exactly right. In that case, you should always be what Stephanie said, which is exactly right. In that case, you should always be up to date with everything that's expected of you, right? It's a lot of work, right? It kind of stinks. But by the way, it's not that hard, right? Because it's not like you have to deal. What are the expectations of you, right? We're going to talk about these later. But what are some of the expectations of you? That you're going to follow the law. right? That's expected of you, right? You're expected to not harm anyone, right? Even when it's not the law, you're expected to like not walk in here and just start cursing at everyone, right? Do we need to like have a discussion about that? No, you kind of know that expectation, right? There's millions of expectations that you already know about. You're expected to study when you go to school. You're expected to like kind of get to school on time, right? And your professor should tell you their expectation of like what happens if you don't come to school on time and whatever, right? But is this clear so far? All right. It's only when it comes to like these unique situations or the relational dynamics where you need to start talking about what's expected, right? Like, for example, to prepare for this talk, like a month ago, Monica or Roscella, who like arranges this, said, Makar, we need to talk about these some topics, some options. And in my head, I'm like, I need to really understand what's expected of me, right? So I called Dr. Samir and we have a conversation, and I call this person and I talk and I'm trying to understand. And then when we're done, we send an email and I say, hey, this is what I understand, that's what I'm going to talk about, right? And then Monica had an expectation of that I'm going to put a name on the series. So she emailed, she said, Makar, do you have a name for the series? I'm like, oh, I don't really think we need to have one. But you see how this is going? This is just a normal conversation, right? But we're just, this is this flow of expectation management, right? So that by the time we have to do something, no one's like, wait, what just happened? What? We're talking about what? We're to what? There's none of that, right? This flow just happened back and forth, right? Where we're managing each other's expectations because we believe and we know that what's expected of us is our work. What's expected of me is my work. If Dr. Samir expected something of me and I didn't do it, he's going to be upset. There's going to be an issue in the relationship. I'm not saying it's his fault. I'm not saying it's my fault. But it kind of is my fault. I should have clarified the expectation, right? I should have said, hey, this is what I'm going to do. Is that aligned with your expectations? All right. So we said integrity is wholeness. Wholeness, integrity applies to a system or to a person or an organization. If you have integrity, you have maximum workability, which means you have access to your full potential. Not that you're running at your full potential, but you have access to your full potential. And for a human being, your integrity is your word. Your word is what you say you're going to do by when you say you're going to do it. Your word is what you know to do. Your word is what is expected of you, but not what you expect of others. And your word is what you assert. And like when you assert something, like imagine you say something is true. When you say something is true, there should be evidence that another person would find valid, right? If I'm, have you ever been, I don't know, has anybody ever asked a question and you just kind of gave an answer and just said something, right? And one time I was in a meeting and like, I'm like a junior guy, I'm just sitting there in this meeting with all these senior people, and they said, my boss looked at me and just trying to confirm like one number, just like I had one job. And he had one number that he wanted to confirm, and he just said, he said to the group, I think it's this. And he looked at me and said, Makar, is that right? And I'm like, I don't know. In my head, I'm like, that better be right, because I have been wrong, right? So, but my word, right? I could have easily said I don't know, right? But I didn't want to say I don't know in front of these people. I only got like one word to say. It was yes. That one meeting, right? And I didn't want to, say I don't know. That's 3 words. So it's like it would have just been complicated. So I just want to say yes, right? I couldn't say no. He asked me if it was right. So your word is when you assert something that you know that there's evidence that another person would find valid. The last thing is, your word is the moral, ethical, and legal standards of the society, group, organization, and state unless you have explicitly declined, right? So unless you say, I disagree with the speed limit, your word is the speed limit, right? Unless you say, I disagree with like not murdering people, you're going to follow that rule, right? Okay. Now it's all going to come together in how do I deal with this word issue. Okay, it's all going to come together. Are there any like major issues right now in this room? Is everybody doing all right? All right. So, sorry, I have a 10 o'clock alarm. I'm going to be happy to start at 9:30 because this whole room is out of integrity. gosh. No, sorry. Actually, it is interesting because, like, you know, I'm not complaining, but I just want to explain to you, like, a sequence of things. That, I'm not complaining at all. It's a blessing to be here. But, like, we were supposed to start at 9, right? And so I was ready to start at 9, and I prepared a 1-hour talk, or like a 50-minute talk. So, and then I planned to like be leaving here by like 10, so I get home and see my wife before she needs to see, because she has work, and I have to be up by like 6, right? And I have to drive for 3 hours tomorrow. So like, this is like, all this stuff was happening, right? Like, there's all this stuff that was planned based on word, right? But now, and I'm not complaining, I'm just trying to, this is just, I am so angry! I'm just kidding. Yeah, no.
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, this is not what said, that's what we're talking about. But I'm just trying to show you in a very harmless thing. It's just my own life. But in a very harmless thing, what happens, right, when we're out of integrity? Like, imagine now, you know, like, I'm not, again, I really mean I'm not complaining, but just think this through, right? Just think this through, right? So, like, it's fine. Just think this through, right? Like, so my wife is tired, right? She's tired, and she's gonna stay up to see me because we haven't seen each other for a long time. So, but now I'm gonna be late, right? And so now that's like a potential for tension between the two of us. And she's gonna be tired, right? So she's going to be tired, and there's a potential for tension that like leverages up that potential, right? So now, if we get into a disagreement, because she's tired and I'm tired, it might turn into a bigger fight than it could have been, right? Like, do you guys see how it works, right? Like, there's when one system is out of integrity, it affects many other systems, right? And all because we all kind of, the expectation was sent in an email, right? It was an expectation, it was set. And by you, unless 40 people say I'm coming late, the expectation is still there, which means it's your word to come by a certain time, right? And unless you, and I'm going to talk about this in a second, but unless you clarify that expectation or say this is not my word, then the system will be out of integrity. It will be broken, right? No issue, guys. I'm just trying to give an example that's at hand. All right. So, what do you do with your word? What do you do with your word? All I did just now, I just spent like probably 5 or 10 minutes talking about what is your word, right? But I didn't tell you what to do with it, right? To be in integrity, this is the next big point. We already covered the hardest thing. The next big point. To be in integrity, you must honor your word. To be in integrity, you must honor your word. And I want to tell you what I mean very specifically by honor, okay? Honor means two things, one of two things, either or, okay? It either means that you keep your word. That's the easy one, right? If I say I'm gonna, give you $10, I'm gonna keep, and I want to honor my word, my first option is to keep and to give you the $10. But no human being can actually keep their word all the time. Only God can keep their word all the time, keep his word all the time, right? But no human can keep their word all the time. But every human can honor their word all the time. And that's where the second option comes in. The second option that you have, if you can't keep your word, which happens all the time, is that as soon as you find out that you cannot keep your word, you let those who are relying on you to keep your word, you let them know. Hey, I'm not going to keep my word. I can't give you $10. Hey, I'm going to be late. Right? You let them know right away. Right? And you either say when you're going to do it, like when you're going to keep your word later, or that you're not going to keep your word any longer, and you clean up the mess that was caused by you not keeping your word. Can I say that again? I think I lost people. All right. So, what do you do with your word? In order to be in integrity, you have to honor it. Honor it means one of two things. The first one, which is easy, is that you have to keep your word, right? And if you cannot keep your word, this is the second option. As soon as you find out you can't keep it, You let those who are relying on you to keep it know. Then you tell them by when you could either keep it or that you're never going to keep it, right? Because if you lost 20 minutes, you're never going to be on time, right? If you just lost 20 minutes. And you clean up the mess that was caused by you not keeping your word. Usually, a lot of times, it's just saying, I'm sorry. By the way, I just want to say that, right? Because you're never going to get the 20 minutes back, right? Sometimes you just have to say, I'm sorry, I can't keep my word, I just can't. That's it, right? We're going to go through some examples at the end on other ways to clean up the mess, right? And still honor your word. By the way, so all of that was like the heart, that whole thing was like the main point of the evening, okay? I just want to talk about a few more things, and then we'll be done. Just more like applications. Is everybody with me? Any issues or questions now? Okay. So it becomes very clear why this is important. Because in relationships are established by word, right? Like if I give my word, I say, hey, I'm Makar, right? I just started giving my word, right? So relationships are established when word is given, okay? And even when I give my word to someone else, I'm also kind of giving my word to myself. I'm saying, hey, I just told myself who I am, told someone who I am. I've just defined myself to that person and to myself. I just said who I am, right? Honoring your word creates workable relationships. If you want to work and like do something, you want to serve on a retreat, you want to help put an event together for the summer or the fall or whatever, the only way to have a workable relationship is when you honor your word, right? Otherwise, like, what is it? Like, what are you, right? You're nothing, right? You're just some blob of like human, right? All right. Honoring your word has power even if you can't keep it. There's some studies were done. You guys know how like you can call like, I don't know, Sprint or Verizon or something, and have a customer service problem and something got screwed up and like, hey, I hate you and all that stuff. And you just say all that stuff to them, right? And usually after they'll be like, hey, is it alright if you stay on hold at the end of this call? So they'll give you a customer service survey, whatever, right? So there are companies that where the result of that conflict that the customer had actually had a positive survey at the end because of how they honored their word, right? Because of how they honored their word. In other words, a conflict could result in a very positive outcome if people honor their word. Let me tell you a story, a very simple story. A few months ago, I was on a cruise to Alaska with like a lot of family. And we were going up, and you probably read about this in the news, there was a very, very tragic situation that happened on the cruise where a man murdered his wife on the cruise. It was like a domestic dispute, it was horrible, it was really, really sad. So people were getting really frustrated because besides the fact that this was a horrible thing that happened, that they weren't getting a lot of information. And what really bothered people is that part of that trip is that you go to this place where there's these big glaciers, and the cruise ship just spins around these huge. The glaciers. Imagine there's a big cruise ship. The cruise ship looks like this compared to the glaciers, right? That's how big it is. And people spend thousands of dollars. I didn't do this, but people spend thousands of dollars to get a balcony room, so that when that day is happening, they can be in their balcony watching these huge glaciers by binoculars and everything. It's like, it's major like senior citizens thing. They just kind of go, they want to sit in the balcony and watch the glaciers, and that's like one of the big highlights of the trip. What? It is pretty cool. Actually, if I was paying more attention to the planning of the trip, I would have probably done that. But what happened was, because this horrible thing happened on the cruise, they had to divert. They had to skip that whole part of the trip, right? And so they went to Juneau or something, and no one could get off the cruise because the FBI was waiting, and the FBI had to do a whole investigation, and it was just unexpected, right? It was very unexpected. So the FBI is waiting. They do an investigation. No one can get off the ship. People have to report to certain places on the ship, and this thing's happening. Almost the whole entire day passes Almost the whole entire day passes. They finally let us off the ship to do like an excursion or go see something or whatever, right? Now, the reason I'm telling this story is because of what happened after. What happened after was that we got some letter in our rooms that said, hey, we're going to give you $150 per person. And we're going to give you 25% off your next cruise, right? There was a lot of mixed feelings, right? Some people were like, wait, what? You're going to give me $150 and 25% off my next cruise? I wasn't even planning on one other cruise, right? We're senior citizens, so I'm not going to go. I wasn't planning on using this 25%, right? But some people were like, whoa, this is good. I wouldn't even pay for that room. I don't care, right? Whatever. Like I was just hanging out with my friends on the cruise and everything was fine, right? Depending on how they handle that situation, for some people, they think that the cruise, that the company honored their word, right? Even though they couldn't get you to the location you wanted, they couldn't keep their word. For some people, because of their expectation or because of what they thought, they believe that the cruise company honored their word, right? Even though they couldn't keep it. Some people think that they didn't honor their word. I'm just giving you some ideas. All right. The last two things is just something on cost-benefit analysis, and then we'll do 4 really, really quick applications, and then we're done. There's a bad practice when it comes to all this stuff, right? There's a very bad practice that comes with all this stuff, which is that some people, after they've given their word, they do a cost-benefit analysis on whether or not they should honor their word. Let me tell you what that means, right? What that means is like, I'll see you guys at 10 p.m., we're gonna hang out, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, and like people, let me give you a better one. Yeah, we're gonna go to this show, we're gonna go to the movies together. Buy me a ticket, bro, buy me a ticket, right? And somebody buy a ticket. We're all gonna meet up and go to the movies, right? And then somebody texts you, buy me a ticket, you buy them a ticket, right? And then it's like, 9:45, and they're like, yeah, I don't want to go. I just don't want to go, right? They're like, it's gonna be too hard for me to go. It's gonna be too hard for me to go, right? So they say, you know what? I'm not going. They text you, I'm not going, or they just don't show up, right? You can never do a cost-benefit analysis and say, oh, well, if I am going to honor my word, it's going to cost me this. I shouldn't do it because I'm not going to benefit anything. If that's going to happen, you can't do that on honoring your word. Do you guys get what I'm saying? Like, when it comes time to honor your word, you honor your word. But the question is, when can I do a cost-benefit analysis? When can I see whether or not keeping my word or honoring my word is going to make sense for me? It's when you give your word. Right? So before you give your word, you have to say, wait, I'm about to give my word. Actually, let me just give you a story. A few weeks ago, I was at somewhere, and I was talking to a priest, and he said to me, oh, Makar, and this is me being out of integrity, I just realized this as I was coming in. So, he's like, hey, Makar, I need, you do finance stuff, right? And I'm like, yeah, and usually nobody else knows what I do. But they're like, oh yeah, you do finance stuff, so they think I can give them loans, like from my boss. But I have credit cards I could apply to or something. So they go, like, you do finance stuff, I'm like, yeah. He's like, look, we want to buy this building for our church. We want to buy this building, right? And there's this person who knows how to get discounts on buildings. That's exactly what. I've never heard of this before. It's like, yeah, they know things, let's call them. So we call the person on speaker and we're talking to them. It turns out that this person has websites for organizations that will give you grants so you can buy a building, right? That's what it was, right? And then they said, hey, so Makar, you're gonna follow up on this? And I just said, yeah, I am, right? I didn't, what was I thinking? Do I have time to follow up on that? No, I don't have time to follow up on that. What am I going to be doing? Emailing them, calling them, texting them, whatever them? I'm not going to do anything, right? But I just looked at this wonderful man and I said, yeah. And then, I exchanged numbers with this lady, And, you know, she sent me this stuff very late, but whatever, that's not an excuse, I still haven't done anything. But now, this person who's responsible, this leader, who's responsible for a lot of people, I gave my word to them, right? And now, it's time for me to honor my word. At a minimum, I should just say, hey, I can't do this, right? It's so hard, right? It's so hard to say, hey, I can't do what I said I'm going to do. It's so hard, right? But imagine what's out of integrity right now. For weeks, this priest thinks I'm taking care of something. Well, he's going to lose a month. He and his whole community are going to lose 1 month, 2 months, right? Maybe they'll even lose an opportunity to get something, right? Because I didn't honor my word. Isn't that like horrible? Like when you think about it that way? Like you know, sometimes we think, oh, it's just like a service. You know, it's like a service. It's volunteers, charity. You know, it's a blessing, right? But yeah.
What if I forgot to start doing it? Like say, I might have messed up in this situation. Maybe I'll follow up. Maybe I'll do some.
Yeah. So let me take what you're saying. What you said, just to repeat what you said, was what if you forgot and then you try to fix it, right? If I say what you said using these terms that we just discussed today, it's like, what if you can't keep your word? How can I still honor it? What I do is that the first thing I do is as soon as I find out that I didn't keep my word or can't keep my word, I let the person know. Then I tell them by when I'm going to do it or not ever do it. And then I clean up the mess, right? Right? So, is that cool?
Yeah.
All right. So, any questions on that? We have just practical, like 4 really quick examples, but we're done with the content. Yeah.
Just using that example, you being out of integrity, does that now put the priest in a position where he's out of integrity because of you?
Yes, because in life, we're all there's all these systems, right? Like there's all these systems and there's subsystems, right? Like me and you are a system, right? We're like a relational system, right? And then you, me, and Mina are a system. You, me, and Mina are a system, right? And Antonio are a system. And we're all here, we're a system, right? We're this organization of people. And we all affect each other, right? You join a church community, that's an organization, it's a system, right? And it all flows together. So by me being out of integrity, that puts him out of integrity. And this is now imaginary, I don't know if this is true, but imagine that this priest is with a group of priests, right? And that group of priests said, hey, can you, priest, take care of this thing? And he says, yeah, I'll take care of it, right? So now he just gave his word, right? And now he goes to me and he's expecting me to be in integrity. But I screwed up. So now he's out of integrity. And then he's going to go to his priest friends or colleagues and he's going to say, hey, I can't, something bad happened. I don't know what happened, right? This other person's out of integrity. Now I'm out of integrity, right? Now he has to clean up that mess, right? And it's just this whole cascade of bad things, right? It's not horrible things, just bad things, right?
And it can be horrible.
Yeah, it can be, yeah.
No, sometimes things go beyond just something that can be fixed.
Yeah.
I think it can cause problems.
Yes.
It can definitely cause problems.
Imagine the priest gets so upset that he can't focus during a confession. During the confession, someone said he was going to kill someone, and now he didn't stop.
I mean, the priest is out of his fault also because he didn't check up with you too. Like he's supposed to check up with you like every week or so.
Not really. Because I'll tell you why. It should be that when someone gives their word, they honor their word, regardless of who checked up, right? The checking up and following up is like a management technique, right? You just follow up on with people, right? But like he shouldn't say, oh, I know Makar's going to do it if I follow up with him, right? It should be, Makar, are you going to do this? Yes, he's doing it. That's what it should be, right? Because we can't rely on the follow-ups,
No,
right?
but isn't it like if the way you say it could be different than like, oh, I'm just, you know what I mean? If the wording sometimes could be a better way. Like, if I follow up in such a way, it'd be better than.
No, you're talking about an effective way of performing or conducting a management technique, right?
Yeah.
But that's just what should, like, let me tell you something.
I know
Let me tell you.
this stuff
What-
all the time.
How frequently should the priest follow up with me?
Like every 3 weeks.
Every 3 weeks?
Yes.
But what if I'm already decided not to do it in 2 weeks? What if you follow up in 2 weeks and I decide I'm never going to do it in 1 week? Like by me not honoring my word, I screwed it up, right? I just screwed it up. It has nothing to do with like his follow-ups, right? Okay, fine, he should follow up. Everybody should be following up all the time and all that stuff. But not really, like, because we don't want to be like following up all the time. It should just be, hey, will you marry me? Yes. Do you need to follow up? No, right? You know? You know? That's fine. So, you know what I'm saying? But you give your word, right? Just following up. I just want to make sure, like, so on this one about, I just want to make sure we're still integrity. Because that could have harmful effects. So let's really quickly, just very quickly, go through 4 quick examples. Practical application. So I'm going to tell you a story, like it's 1 sentence, 2 sentences. I'm going to say it, and then you tell me how to honor your word in that situation, okay? So that you can be in touch. You agreed to help your friend move into their new apartment on Saturday. Well, your manager called you on Thursday and told you you have to come into work on Saturday. What do? You already agreed. You call your friend and what? What thing do you call your friend, by the way?
Thursday.
Yeah, like as soon as you can, right? You know, unless like your phone broke and you're like in a spaceship, like you can't.
There is something else you can do, or you should do. Claim your mess and find someone else instead of you.
Yes. And you ask your friend, like, hey, like that was really an important point. You tell your friend, hey, I can try to find someone else to help. Would that be okay? Or you could just say, hey, look, like my work situation just completely blew up. Not just do I have to come in on Saturday, but I'm going to work for 72 hours until then. So I can't find someone. I'm really sorry. How can I make this up to you, right? Something like that, right? Sometimes you can't, like the mess is already done, but you should try, right? You should, and clarify the expectation, right? Clarify the expectation. All right, next one. You agreed to pick your brother up at 8 a.m. and give him a ride to work, but you hit a lot of traffic on the way and will be at least 20 minutes late. You text him what? Text him drive? Yeah, no, but we're expected to follow along. That's rude. So you pull over and you text your friend. What? You text? Yeah, you call or whatever. You just let them know, right? You don't wait till like you're supposed to be there and then say, hey, dude, I'm 20 minutes. I'm going to be 20 minutes late. Yeah, because your brother could have found you on the ride. You could have taken an Uber. They could have called someone else. You could have told your boss. You know, what's waiting on them. All right. I just have 2 more. You told your team at school that you would submit your part of the project on Friday night, but a senior servant asked you to give the lecture at the high school meeting the same night.
Say no.
Yeah, you would say no or something, right? Okay, you guys got it. Last thing, this is the very last thing in my notes, I promise. You agreed with a co-servant to talk to one of the young adults about the issue, but after prayer and guidance, realized that you would not be the best person to deliver the message. What do? You let the servant know, right? Because what if they're like, they said, oh, okay, I just gave it to Mina, he's going to take care of that issue, right? But then you don't want to leave it open for weeks, right? All right. Any questions? All right, before you get out further.